Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all up and moving around, hopefully not out and about. Hopefully everybody's just doing things at home this morning. I'm doing my very first live. I've never done one before, so bear with me as I go through the process. I want to welcome everybody. I was sitting yesterday talking to some cruise planners, colleagues, and we're all trying to come up with very creative ways to stay engaged. And this was one of the things that, we discussed is even though our clients cannot come to us right now, we can't go meet them, we want to make sure that we stay engaged with you as this crisis unfolds or all around us. So having said that, good morning. I want to welcome everybody as we get started. My name's Annette. For those of you who don't know me, I've had a Cruise Planners franchise for the past year and a half. November of 2018, I left a long career in the nonprofit world and decided to go traveling. It's something I've always loved to do, and I thought, what better way to do it than to operate and own and operate a travel franchise so that I could help other people travel as well. So here I am, a year and a half later, caught in one of the biggest natural, I don't want to call it disasters, but crises that we faced. And the travel industry was the very first ones that got hit. We, of course, took the hits from the very first coronavirus outbreak, the cruise line industries, but now it's trickled down to everybody. Everybody's being affected. Small businesses, large businesses, hospitals are overwhelmed, doctors are overwhelmed. So hopefully we can get this under control and move forward as it unfolds. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if we're here. Like I said, there you go. Hey, Andrea, nice of you to join us. I'm glad to see you this morning. Roberta, we've not met personally, but I'm super glad you joined me this morning. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes to log in and join us. I see some emoticons coming up. It's fabulous. All right, Roberta, you can hear me. Great, that's good news. Again, this is my very first live, so it's all new. I thought I'd come into the office today. Last week, I moved into this wonderful space. I had an office here at Jay's, but this enclosed space came open towards the end of the month. And so I got to move into this enclosed space last weekend and literally was only able to use it for half a day before I self-isolated starting on Tuesday. So I snuck in today because it's a small, there's not too much traffic on Saturdays. The roads are actually pretty empty right now here in DeRidder. So here I am, welcome to my space. So as people get trickled in, I'm glad you joined me. Again, my name's Annette. I've been in the travel industry for about a year and a half, but I'm not new to traveling. I'm an Army brat, Army spouse, born and raised in Germany to German parents. So traveling has always been part of my life. I just joined the travel industry about a year and a half ago so that I could help others. That's great, Cindy. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm loving the people that are jumping on board. Some of them I've not met before. Of course, Andrea is my child, my oldest daughter. But Roberta and Cindy, thank you for joining me. Great clients. So some updates in the travel industry. I know everybody's been monitoring the news. We're all very news heavy right now, and it can be very overwhelming. Just imagine in the travel industry how we feel about what's going on right now. It's, oh, Cindy, you're an Army brat too. Did not know that. That's fabulous. Welcome. It's a whole different way of living, isn't it? So as I was saying, in the travel industry, it has been, fluid is not the right word. It has been dynamic. just perpetuating new policies being pushed out almost every single day by cruise lines, by travel vendors, by suppliers, by the airlines. It's hard to keep up with. And we've been just inundated with lots of different situations. Hey, Anda, nice to see you. I think your travel is coming up, so I'm really glad you've joined me this morning. As I was saying, so the travel industry has just been crushed in the past couple weeks. But you know, there's good news. Everybody anticipates that we're going to come out of this stronger than ever. So as I was saying, we've had some updates through this whole week. Every single day has been bringing updates. And it's been a lot to keep up with. It's a lot to process for clients who were scheduled to travel in March, or they're scheduled to travel early in April. As right now, nobody knows what's going to happen. We really don't. We don't know how long people are going to be on lockdown, how long this virus is going to continue to spread and affect travelers, or businesses for that matter. So here's some things that came out this week. Breaking yesterday, Sandals and Beaches Resorts, for the first time ever, closed their resorts as of last night around the world. Hey, Nicole, I'm so glad to see you this morning. Fantastic. Love it when my friends jump on board. As I was saying, Sandals and Beaches closed last night. This is unprecedented. They've never closed, even in the light of hurricanes that affected the Caribbean. They always found a way to stay open, or at least open as quickly as possible. So last night we got the notifications that Sandals and Beaches Resorts around the Caribbean are now closed for traffic. The Mexican border is closed unless it's an emergency travel, the Canadian border, unless it's work related or emergency. Flights in and out of just about everywhere. We've been getting dialogue virtually every day. Get your clients home. Otherwise, they're going to be in wherever they are for an indefinite period of time. So as scary as all that sounds, the beautiful thing has been that the travel industry has really come together as a very dynamic whole to work for the benefit of the clients that are out there traveling, or have been booked for travel for the next couple of weeks, who are booked for travel in May, June, July, and we don't know what's going to happen. So in that respect, I've been trying to touch base with as many clients as I can that had immediate travel within the next 4 weeks. Those that are traveling in May and June or past that, this coming week and the week after, that's when I'm going to start really reaching out to you as we get more updates from the travel industry, from the cruise lines, from the land vendors. It's really hard. I know everybody wants answers. Nobody wants answers more than I do. I was scheduled to sail in 2 weeks on the Majesty of the Seas on a Bahamas itinerary. It was my best friend's 50th birthday present. And so right now, you know, we're probably looking at potentially canceling that, not because we want to, but because that's probably what's going to happen with ports being closed. And many of the cruise lines, Carnival and Holland in particular, offering their ships for medical services in the ports of Boston and New York. That has been an unprecedented event as well, that Carnival and Holland have offered President Trump their ships to use as hospital triage areas. So kudos to Carnival. They have been probably the forefront in making policy changes to the benefit of their clients, their industry. And I know many of you have booked Carnival cruises in the next month or two. Some of you, unfortunately, had your cruise already canceled, and some of it were in the wait and see dialogue. As much as I hate that, it's really for the best right now that we just kind of hover and wait to see how things roll out. So one of the things I wanted to do today was allow you to ask questions. I know many of you have been watching the news, but some of you have been thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to travel again. You know, is this ever going to come back to normal? What about if we plan travel in the fall? You know, I know all those questions are burning right now. So I decided to do this the first live, and I'm so glad that you guys joined me. And I'm hoping, you know, invite your friends to join us for the next one. I'm going to be doing this on a weekly basis and reporting what the updates are, even though I've been sending everybody emails, texting. Some of you I've even spoken to over the phone. You know, invite them. This is the opportunity for you as my valued clients, even if you haven't booked anything with me yet, to ask questions that may be burning. You know, how is this going to change the travel industry? So I'm opening it to questions. As you guys are typing in, I will let you guys know that after the end of each week, I have a prize to give away, and everybody that participated, I'll draw a name and you'll get a prize. Probably won't get delivered until after this is over, or we can, you know, schedule a meeting and I can place it somewhere and we can do the social distancing and you can pick it up. So this morning, the prize is a beautifully wrapped candle it's a Voluspa candle from Glass Flowers with a beautiful Cruise Planners luggage tag on it. And I've used these candles from Glass for a number of years, and they're wonderful. They last a super long time. So that'll be somebody's lucky prize this morning. Towards the end of all our session, do a drive-by toss. Haha, Andrea, that's funny. The candle might break. Don't want to do that. All right, Roberta asks, if a cruise is canceled, would they reschedule it for a later time? It's a great question, Roberta, so I'm gonna tackle that question. So here's what's happened with those cruises that were canceled by the cruise lines. If the cruise line cancels it, you have, and I'm going to use Carnival for this discussion because, Roberta, you're booked on a Carnival cruise later in the fall. So if a cruise line cancels their cruise, they offer two options. Carnival offered a 100% refund of everything that you paid, or rescheduling your cruise with a future cruise credit plus extra onboard credit, which we all love onboard credit. You can use that for everything on board except gratuities. So when I get onboard credit, I typically like to apply it towards beverages or my excursions. Because you know, sometimes I don't book my excursions until I get on board, just to kind of see where the weather's at. I know I'm really spoiled, and I like clear water when I get to Cozumel or Costa Maya if I'm going to do any snorkeling, etc. So they'll offer 100% if they cancel, 100% refund, or they'll offer incentives for you to reschedule within a certain time frame. Right now, for those that were canceled with Carnival in early April, March and early April, they've been offered the 100% refund or to reschedule with either $100 to $300 or $600 of OBC, onboard credit, within a certain time frame. And this time frame they've extended to the end of 2022. You have to rebook by a certain time, but it's a very generous offer if they cancel. Royal Caribbean has offered some significant incentive as well to continue to rebook. We don't want anybody to cancel. We want people to continue to travel. We can't rebuild the travel industry if people stop traveling. So that's what they're doing as far as cancellations. They're also offering tentative cancellation policies. So if you decide within a certain time frame, and right now, Roberta, your cruise, I don't think is in that time frame yet, that if you choose to rebook, you get an FCC credit towards another cruise, and then the rest of your money back. So an FCC credit, that's called a future cruise credit, works to your advantage if the cruise lines cancel, because they will always add incentive on top of that. They don't want you to cancel. We don't want you to cancel. So in the cruise industry, that's how it works. Roberta, did I answer your question? So anything extra that you paid as well, so gratuities, shore excursions, anything that you've paid for extra gets refunded back automatically. If you purchased a travel insurance policy through Allianz, which is the company Cruise Planners uses, that actually can be reused if you reschedule. We just changed the dates. Sometimes you may have to pay a little bit extra if the trip that you rebook is of a greater value, but that particular policy can be reused. If you've purchased a vendor policy, then the dynamics change a little bit. If you rebook, it usually transfers to the new booking. If you cancel, unfortunately, you lose that insurance policy. So it really behooves you to rebook. All right, so Roberta, give me a thumbs up. All right. Yes, ma'am. I don't want you to lose that trip either. I know you have been working very hard, and you and your girls are very excited about that trip, so I want you to go. Andrea asks, I don't know if flights aren't your specialty, but with domestic travel being restricted, are flights completely canceled, or is just no one really traveling? It's a great question, Andrea. So with the edict of the State Department putting us at a level 4 travel advisory, that means non-essential travel should not be happening. If you don't need to go, you shouldn't go. Flights have diminished extensively, so there are very few flights left internationally or domestically that are available. The airlines have actually taken a very responsive approach to this crisis and have waived many fees, change fees, for most of their bookings. So clients, they don't necessarily get a refund unless they have travel insurance. I'm gonna hammer travel insurance, because if anything has come out of this is that travel insurance is extremely important to purchase for any trip that you take. If you travel and purchase, travel insurance, you may be able to claim that with your travel insurance if the airline does not give you a refund. But most of them have been giving flight credits that you have to use within a certain time frame. And if you reschedule your trip anyway, that's not a bad option. It really, and when I say, when you ask, are flights completely canceled or is just no one traveling? No one should be traveling. We need to stay put. We have to get the coronavirus under control. And if we continue to travel for leisure, that's not going to happen. We need to stay put. So Andrea, give me a thumbs up if I answered your question. Cindy asks, as customers are rebooking, wouldn't there be ships completely full? How are we going to rebook within a year and no rooms available? That's a good question, Cindy. So I did a little search last night, potentially to rebook the cruise that I was looking, that potentially is going to get canceled for the month of April. And there is a lot of availability on all the ships. The cruise lines, I talked to one of my business development managers from Royal a couple days ago, and the cruise lines are looking at itineraries and ports, and they're possibly going to do a shuffling of ships where there's going to be a greater need. So if it so comes down that, within this time frame, there's just this huge overflow, they might potentially relook at the policy and extend the times for you to use that future cruise credit. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but it is, it's a legitimate concern. But I know the cruise industry has really been very dynamic in its policy changing as this thing unfolds. So give me a thumbs up, Cindy, if I clarified that for you. Angie, hey Angie. Angie, also, I've known Angie for about 2 years now. She's one of my managers on the flip side of my business. I manage facilities, aquatic facilities in this area, and Angie manages is one of our managers at the Leesville Leisure Group. So hi, Angie. And she's also hooked on cruising. We sent her on her first cruise about a year ago, and I think she could probably live on a cruise ship right now if she could. Right, Angie? So she answers, Cindy's actually her mom, so rooms will be available. We can just go on a 4-day on a bigger ship. Absolutely. So just because you're scheduled on a 6 or 7, 8 day, whatever the cruise is that you're scheduled on, doesn't mean you have to select that same type of cruise to go further. So I'm scheduled for a 7-day Bahamas itinerary, but the cruises I was looking at to reschedule were actually shorter than that on a different ship. You're not limited. You can choose any ship. The thing that you want to do is make sure that you're going to stay within the budget of your future cruise credit so that it not only covers all of your new cruise, but also you can get some refunded or some will be applied as OBC. So just, you have to be careful. Otherwise, you're going to be responsible for the remaining cost, which isn't, you've already paid the money out. So it's really just transferring it, like transferring bank accounts, something similar than that. Great questions. I don't have anybody on the feed right now that has any land tours booked. Unfortunately, I had a couple that was going to go on their honeymoon to Sandals in the middle of April, and that is obviously canceled due to Beaches and Sandals closing all their resorts for the time being. Many of you, we've chatted and talked, oh, don't touch the face. We've chatted and talked about doing, land tours in Italy and Greece, and those are all wonderful, wonderful trips, but they're kind of on hold right now. Italy, Germany, the middle of Europe are being very, very hard hit. And like I said earlier, we just don't know when that is going to flip, when we're going to see a stop in the spread, and when business is going to be able to resume to normal. I have a beautiful Christmas market river cruise planned for November, Thanksgiving week. It's a group, so if anybody's interested, you can always join us. But right now, I'm in the hover mode. I don't know, and I hate those 3 words. I tell all my employees I don't ever want to hear those words come out of your mouth. But really, right now, we don't know what's going to happen. That doesn't mean we're not going to get you the answers if you have questions. We've been doing webinars. There's Carnival's releasing 3 to 4 updates a week. We get emails every single day from not only cruise planners, our home office, but all the vendors. So we're staying on top of it. I'm your travel advisor. Thank you. I'm grateful for you. But travel advisors around the world are really bonding. Even though we're in competition, it's not considered that right now. We're bonding and how we can best overcome this situation. So again, great questions. Roberta asks, if you prepay for excursions and the trip is canceled, would you get a refund, or how would that happen? So if anything extra that you've paid into your cruise, besides the insurance, if you purchased it through the vendor, will get refunded to you. So gratuities, excursions, beverage packages, anything extra, if the cruise is canceled by the vendor, the supplier, then you get that money refunded. If you cancel it within their cancellation policy and you don't rebook, it's going to get refunded to you. So great questions. Anda asks, not a question, just want to say thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Anda. I try. I look at my travel business as I treat every trip that I book as if myself or one of my family is going. Travel is, it's valuable. It's, you know, it's once in a lifetime experiences that you don't get back. So I do treat every trip and every client as if it was my own. So thank you, Anda. I appreciate that. It has been rough. I'm a new business and getting slammed a year and a half into this with cancellations and no potential bookings, you know, in the near future. It's hard. It's really hard. It's very deflating sometimes. So we've just been trying to keep an upper lip, do webinars, do trainings, do marketing plans, and, you know, keep planning. Oh, thank you, Nicole. I would love to see you on one of our group cruises. I think you'd be a lot of fun to hang out with in one of our group cruises, which is one thing that I've discovered that I love to do. I didn't think I would like it. Number one, cruising. When we took our first cruise after my father passed away, I'm like, I'm not so sure, because I usually like to go someplace, be based in one location, and then travel out from there, you know, doing our own thing. But after my father passed away, we took our first cruise and I was hooked. I mean, you're in a beautiful cabin on a beautiful ship, seeing different ports every day. You don't have to cook. You don't have to worry about your meals. You don't have to worry about making your bed. So it's really, for me, I put my phone in the safe, except, you know, now that I'm in the travel business, I always stay connected with my clients no matter whether I'm traveling or not. But I love cruising and I really can't wait for another one. Hopefully it'll be towards the end of pool season. I am hoping to go to Alaska at the end of August. I have a group planned for the end of August to Alaska and Holland, America. And I'm on pins and needles about that one. I lived in Alaska for 3 years. I swore I would never set foot back in Alaska, but I'm going to look at it from the perspective of my clients. And I really want to see what sailing on a Holland ship is going to be like. Nicole asks, is group cruising a little bit more economical? That's a great question. So the beauty of a group, Nicole, is if we establish a group, let's say you and a group of your teachers want to get together and do a group cruise. I then segment and reserve at the prevailing rate that particular set of cabins. So let's say 8 cabins. Usually you have to have 16 passengers, 8 cabins booked to make it a group, depending on the cruise line. Then you get added benefits to traveling as a group based on the cruise line that you're traveling with, or the land vendor. You can do groups with land vendors as well. So those benefits include onboard credit. They include gifts from the cruise line. They include what we call a tour conductor credit. So say you're the one organizing the group, and you get your 16 people booked, your 8 cabins, then the tour conductor credit would go to you. So you would get a discount on your cruise rate. Does that make sense? I have a group sailing on the Carnival Breeze at the beginning of May, and I'm knocking on wood that they get to go. It's a big group. It's a class reunion group. And for their amenities, they could have gotten a bottle of wine, some strawberries, and $25 onboard credit for each cabin. But they opted as a group to take all their amenities in their group and apply it to onboard credit. So they each got $75 onboard credit for their cabin. Well, Carnival then came out with their new policy that if you don't cancel your sailing and you're sailing between these dates, you get X OBC extra from us. So now each of their cabins has $275 onboard credit to use when they sail. If you want to do group activities while you're cruising together, you can reserve conference space. All the ships have conference rooms. You can reserve one of the bars to have a social event. You can sit together, during dining, but then the rest of the time you just do your own thing. We can even book excursions as a group. So with this group in May, I contacted our excursion company, Shore Trips, and I told them what the group likes to do, and then they put together a package of different excursions in each of the ports that they could choose from. So it's very beneficial to travel as a group. You usually get better rates because those rates are locked in. So if I lock in your prevailing rate for an interior cabin at $479 a person, and then the rate goes up to $620 something, a month or so later, you don't pay that $6, you pay the prevailing rate that I locked it in at. So thumbs up if I answered your question. I love group traveling, and in that question, I like escorting groups. I didn't think I would. When I got out of the nonprofit world, I was kind of like, people. But I took a group out in February over Mardi Gras break on the Enchantment of the Seas, and we had a great time. We did the Mardi Gras parade together. We ate together every evening. We did some excursions together, and we had a fabulous time. It's fun traveling in a group, but you have plenty of time to do your own things. So, great question. Great question. Cindy, where was your dad stationed? In Germany? Yeah, the river cruise is going to start in Prague. Well, actually, the pre-cruise will start in Prague, and we'll sail from Nuremberg down to Budapest and visit Christmas markets along the Danube River. So it's a small group so far. We still have room for about 5 or 6 more people in that group. Oh, Roberta, that's a loaded question. Which cruise line is your favorite to travel on? So, loaded question. If it's for my personal travel, I've only tried 3 cruise lines so far: Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Carnival. Each of those have their amenities and their ships and their personalities, so to say. I have found that for my personal travel, right now, if I'm just doing a trip out of Galveston or New Orleans, I like Royal. And I like the smaller ships. And hear me out, a lot of people like the bigger ships because they have all these wonderful things to do. Well, when I sail, I really don't want to go do all those wonderful things. Yes, do I want to go play bingo? Do I want to maybe do a wine tasting, things like that? Yeah, absolutely. When I'm sailing, I have a book. I'm down by the pool. I swim before everybody clutters up the pool, do my laps, and I just relax. Some people like the ships that have all the bangs and whistles, and those are fabulous. We have some very dynamic ships out there. But for me right now, for personal travel, I like the smaller ships, and I like Royal Caribbean. I'm going to try Holland America on my Alaska cruise, and then for the river cruise that I'm sailing in November, hopefully, knock on wood, I'm traveling AMA Waterways. I'm very excited about that. That's a luxury cruise line that travels the rivers all over Europe, in Asia, in Egypt. So I'm really excited about that. Cindy, your dad was stationed in Alaska. I survived Alaska. That's how I'm going to put Alaska. We were stationed in Anchorage, and I have to say that it was beautiful, it was breathtaking, it was fantastic, but when you live there, it's a different dynamic. And I was there with 4 kids. Well, we had 3 when we got there, 4 when we left, our Alaskan surprise. It was rough. My husband was out of state more than he was in state. So I'm very much looking forward to cruising Alaska to see the beautiful things that we see when we visit Alaska. So yeah, when people are stationed in Alaska, it's a love-hate relationship. Well, Nicole, you need to come back on board with RC. I'm just saying. So great question, Roberta. I think it's probably an open-ended question because I haven't traveled all the cruise lines yet. I know there'll be some that I probably won't travel as frequently, especially if it's for personal travel. If I'm doing group travel, I'm game. Let's go. You pick the trip, you pick the group, and let's make it happen. Great questions, everybody. Fairbanks. Oh my gosh. During the earthquake, wow. That was a devastating time for Alaska. Very devastating time. We had earthquake, blizzards, of course, and a volcano blow up while we lived there. So I have survived every natural disaster except tsunami. And so let's knock on wood there. Even though when I was in Hawaii, we had a tsunami alert, but we didn't actually have a tsunami. So I'm just going to knock on wood there because that's really not something I want to experience. Thank you very much. So anybody else have any other pressing questions? I don't want to keep everybody too long. Some great questions that we've had this morning. Again, the updates are that don't travel right now, but plan your travel. And here's what I'm going to recommend to you. Everybody that joined us this morning obviously loves to travel. And many of you comment on my Facebook page frequently, you know, when I post things, oh, that's on my bucket list, oh, that's on my bucket list. Well, this is the perfect time to build your bucket list. Oh, here I go touching the face again. It's terrible. Shame on me. This is the perfect time to build your bucket list. As a matter of fact, I was looking at different formats on how I could post something that you could download to build your bucket list. And I found a few things yesterday. So look for that to be posted on my Facebook page in the next day or so, because I'm really not taking time off. I will next week probably fine tune my travel work hours and then get all these other projects done at the house that, you know, I typically don't have time to get done. But build that bucket list. Ask me what the advantages are over cruising versus a land package. I was talking to one of my young people yesterday about a Portugal trip, and we were talking about whether he wanted to do an individualized itinerary, a group itinerary, or a river cruise, because he's really not sure. He's not been to Portugal, so he's not seen Portugal, but he wants to make sure that he hits all the highlights. So this is the time to think about your travel. This is the time to, hey, Monica, good to see you. This is the time to plan your travel. And I can tell you what's going to happen when this all unfolds. When this is all over and we get back to normal, vendors, cruise lines, tour companies all over the world, travel suppliers are going to be offering some major incentives for people to rebook and travel again. I know it's going to happen. I know we're going to be able to travel again. And now's the time to start planning that. Put your deposit down, look at something in 2021 or 2022. I'm looking at the Mediterranean in 2022 because my granddaughter's graduating from high school. That's just, I don't even want to think about that, but I took her on her first cruise in February in the Mardi Gras group that I went on, that I took out, and she took to cruising like a fish to water. So whether in Greece I'll do a land package and travel throughout Greece, or whether we'll do a Mediterranean cruise, I'm kind of weighing those options. But I guarantee I'll probably deposit that by the end of this year or the beginning of 2021. Many of the cruise lines are going to start pushing out itineraries towards the end of this year, going further out, so that they can encourage people to get back into the traveling plans. So great questions. Does anybody else have anything that they want to touch base on before we wrap it up today? I wanted to keep this to between 30 and 45 minutes, and we're at right about 30 minutes right now. So any other questions? So the next live I'll do will potentially be next Saturday, and I'm going to do it at 1 p.m. instead of the morning. I'll do another Facebook event, and I'll invite everybody. Please invite your friends. As I find knowledge out from our travel suppliers and our vendors, I'll not only post it, but I hope to share some additional information next Saturday. So next Saturday, let's talk about bucket lists. Let's talk about what's on your bucket list. Pick 5 places that you have in those top 5, and let's talk about them. So my top 5 is I want to go back to Portugal. I was there in October, but I want to do a river cruise down the Douro in Portugal. I have got to go to the South Pacific. I am a water hound, for those of you that know me. I could live in the water. My spirit animal is a shark. So the South Pacific is very much in my top 5. I also want to do a land tour through Italy and a cruise through the Mediterranean. So all those things are on my bucket list. So those are on my radar right now to start looking at what are the vendors going to be offering, and what can I deposit early enough. Yeah, Angie, come on, let's get a group together. I think there'll be a bunch of us have kids that graduate in 2022. That would be great, but then who's going to manage the pools, right? Hopefully by then we'll have a larger team so that we can all take that time. Hey, Kim, good to see you. Kim and I recently talked about one of my favorite places in the United States, Key West. So we've talked a lot about international travel, but you can also look stateside. Stateside is fabulous. Key West is wonderful. The Keys are wonderful. There's so many options that you have inside the United States that we can plan. And you can do tours, you can do river cruising up the Mississippi, all the way up to Canada. I mean, there's just so many options right here in the United States. But let's save that for the next time. Italy. Definitely, I definitely want to do the Tuscany Valley in southern Italy. That's a must. It's a must. I want to touch the water in just about every ocean and sea that's available. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close us out unless somebody else has a question. When I'm finished, I'm going to draw names, and then I'll post on my page who won our prize. And I'll also send you a private message. I want to thank you guys for joining. I'm very excited. This is my first live, and I loved it. I saw an angry face go up. Who hid an angry face? Why are you angry? I'm angry because we're not traveling right now. But definitely, I want to keep you guys engaged. I want to keep you guys informed. If you have a question, if you have an issue, please feel free, even if I haven't booked you on a trip yet. Reach me by email, reach me by message, reach me by phone. All my information is on my Facebook page. Send me a private message. Whatever needs to be done, I'll try to get the answers for you as soon as I can. Again, thank you, Cindy. I like doing lives. I've always not been shy in front of the microphone, so that's for sure, which served me well in my nonprofit sector. But I hope you guys will join me the next week. Look for that event to pop up on Facebook. Have everybody join us. So the very last live that I'll do, and here's just a little inkling, and I've already told Angie about this. I'm going to be giving away a $100 gift card, a Carnival gift card, the very last live that I'll do. And I'll do that last one when I see things are going to start getting back to normal. And we don't need to touch base like this. We can actually meet face to face. But you know, Facebook is a wonderful thing. It allows us that social interaction and allows us this opportunity to engage without being close to each other. So stay safe, stay home, watch news, but keep it to a minimum. Make those bucket lists. Circle what is just a must in the next 5 years. Make a plan. What do I want to do within the next year? What do I want to do in the next 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, whatever it is, make a plan. I have a plan. And Anda's crossing her fingers. Yes, so Anda is scheduled for a graduation trip in May. And I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that that happens for you, Anda, you and Cam and Jay and everybody. This is unprecedented, never seen before. And leave it to me to buy a travel franchise right before the biggest disaster in the travel industry ever hits, right? But it's gonna come back. I know it will. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys. Have a safe Saturday, and we'll see you next time. Look for that bucket list format to be posted in the next day or so. Have a great day, and I'll post the winner of our drawing within a few minutes. Thanks, and see you guys next time. Happy travels.